intersection of making art and making money. Welcome to episode 113 of Explore Your Enthusiasm with me, Tara Swiger. I help makers and artists feel awesome about their business, and one of the ways I've been doing that is through the Month of Biz Love Challenge, which just ended. So today I'm going to share what lessons I learned from the challenge and why I put myself through creating 30 live video lessons over the course of a month. So this is episode 113. You can find the show notes and links to everything I mentioned at taraswiger.com/podcast113. And there, if you scroll down, you can also sign up to get a workbook to help you come up with your own challenge for your own business. So the reason I did the Month of Biz Love Challenge is because I knew I wanted to become more consistent in a couple ways. Now, one of the things that you'll hear me talk about over and over is consistency in your business. And in fact, I think I've already done a podcast episode about consistency, so I'm going to link to that in the show notes. But consistency is that important. It is the heart of everything. So it is one thing for you to know how to talk about your work and what tools you're going to use, but it is an entirely different thing to actually become consistent with how you talk about your work and what kind of tools you use. That is where you start to see the change in growing your audience and growing your sales. So it's absolutely possible to build a business where you show up randomly and you list things for sale randomly, and maybe you blog or you post on Instagram randomly, but that is a very, very slow way of going. If you look at the businesses that you like and you respect, all of them, without a doubt, show up consistently. Either they stick to their blog schedule, they stick to the podcast schedule, they post every day on Instagram. Now, maybe it's not all of these things. You certainly don't need to do all of these things, but you need to pick one tool that's right for your business and your people, and then become consistent on it. And that, I know, is where you see the changes. So I'll give you some examples from my own business, and then I'll share some examples of my students' businesses to convince you consistency is the key. So for my own business, I first became consistent with my email newsletter, which has always been the source of the majority of the sales in my business, both in my yarn business and now in my teaching and writing business. I became consistent with that when I hired Jess, who is my VA, my number one, my onboard Vulcan. I hired her back in 2014. I think it's 2014, maybe it's 2013, in July. And we set it up so that I would write my emails that went out every week is what I wanted to do. I would email them to her or post them on Google Docs, and she would then edit out all of the typos, of which there were many. And then at first I was then putting them in MailChimp, and then eventually she started putting them in MailChimp and formatting them there and scheduling them to send. And so if I wanted to send it on Wednesday, I had to get it to her at latest. She had to have it Wednesday morning so that she could do her editing. And because she works earlier in the day than I do, that I actually had to write it on Tuesday. And then what happened is I went out of town to teach the Creative Live course I did. And I was going to be prepping for that class and then gone for teaching for over a week. And so I still wanted to become consistent with sending that out. So I figured I would write a couple ahead of time. And then what happened is I actually got a week ahead. So I was writing and sending her the newsletter the previous Tuesday for the next week's Thursday. And that was the first time my business started in 2006 and I started sending emails in 2008. And that in 2014 is the first time my emails became consistent. So first of all, a big permission slip for your emails to not be consistent yet, because it certainly took me a long time. And also when Jess started, because she would also edit my blog posts and create images for them, I became consistent with blogging for the first time ever. And I started blogging every week. Now that I think about it, it was definitely 2013 that she started and my emails became consistent, and I started blogging consistently. And right away, I saw a big increase in my email subscribers. I saw an increase in how many of them got opened and how many of them got clicked on, and also an increase in people replying and saying, "Oh my goodness, thank you so much for that." Or when I meet people in person, they say, "Oh, I subscribe to your emails and I love blah, blah, blah." that wasn't happening until I became consistent with them. And then once I got consistent on the blog, I realized I could fulfill my long-term desire to have a podcast. And I talked all about that in episode 1 or 2 of the podcast, about how I'd wanted a podcast for a while and I finally put it together. And that was in 2014. And I decided I would do it every week for at least 3 months and see if I liked it. And since then, I've done it every single week consistently for over 2 years. So it started in April of 2014. It's now June of 2016, and I've only missed 1 week in all that time, and I didn't actually miss a week. I took a week away from it because it was going to come out right on New Year's Eve. And so it was the week in between Christmas and New Year's, and I decided not to do it then. So a little peek behind the scenes, I actually make these the week before they come out. So I'm recording this right now on a Tuesday on June, I'm real bad with dates, on June 21st, and it's going to come out on Wednesday, 8 days from that. So June 29th is when it'll be live. And that's the way I stay consistent, as I work ahead of time on it. So I record it, and then Jay edits it, and then splits out both the video and the audio goes to iTunes, and the video will get edited a little more and then go up to YouTube. And then I write a blog post for it on Wednesday or Thursday. It all goes in the blog post. So you see, it's a multi-step process to put out a podcast. And so in order to get it out every Wednesday, I have to start working on it on Tuesday. Sometimes I even write it on Monday. So it's written and recorded by Tuesday. It gets edited and put in a blog post by Wednesday or Thursday. And by Friday, the audio podcast should be all locked and loaded, ready to go by the next Wednesday. And the video podcast usually gets done Monday or Tuesday, and then is scheduled for YouTube to go live on Wednesday. And if you didn't know that, if you've always just listened to the audio version, then you might not know that the videos for these almost every week, especially now that we've figured out some tech snafus, go live on YouTube. And you can find my YouTube channel at tarswiger.com/YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, hi. But so that I was able to do consistently because I had already built up the habit of sending a newsletter and doing a blog post consistently. So then I built in the podcast consistently, and I've been doing that plus the email consistently for these past 2 years. And when I started doing Instagram, I did it very randomly, and over time it became consistent that at least once a day, with the exception of some Saturdays and Sundays when I decide to be completely offline for my own mental health, I post every day on Instagram, and I'm consistently there. And in doing that, my Instagram following has increased, especially consistently using certain hashtags or showing up in certain communities. It's increased. So those are just some examples from my own business. Now, I hope that I talked about them in a way that you understand that it's not like you snap your fingers and it's easy to become consistent. In fact, it takes some systematizing, some system building, some figuring out what are the steps that I need to take to make it possible for me to become consistent. If I sat down to record the podcast every Tuesday night before it was due the next Wednesday, there is no way I would be able to be consistent. I would be late all of the time. But because I built in enough time, and because I figured out what steps need to be done and when they need to be done. Now, do not be sidetracked by the fact that I have 2 people working in my business. This is only the course of, remember, my business has started in 2006. So it has been years, 10 years, a decade of me working on my business, most of those years completely by myself. It's only been in the last 3 years that I've had any help at all. So don't be sidetracked and say, well, she can do it because she has help, because you could become consistent in your own ways with your own projects by doing the systematizing, figuring out what are the steps that need to be done and when. And also, this is a big key, setting a day that you want to be consistent on. So if you're going to post an Instagram post every day, give yourself a time. Like, I'm going to do it by 5 p.m. every day. If you're going to do a blog post every week, pick the day that it's going to go live on. It's fine if it goes live early or if every once in a while you're a little late, but having the day gives you a way of measuring it, because it's very easy to feel like you're blogging regularly and look back and realize you've actually only done it once every 2 or 3 weeks. The same thing is true with your emails. Now, your emails you don't need to send every week. I send mine every week because I do a lot of writing, and that's what I sell, is my writing and teaching. But for you, if you sell a product, you probably don't need to alert people to new products every week. Maybe once a month or twice a week is plenty. If so, pick those dates on your calendar. Decide, I will send it out every 1st and 15th, or the first Tuesday of every month or the first and third Tuesday of every month. I'm just saying random days. It doesn't matter what day you pick. What matters most is that you're able to do it and you're able to stick with it. And that's true for any tool, for Instagram, for Pinterest, for Periscope, for YouTube, for Twitter and Facebook. Showing up consistently matters above anything else. So those are some examples from my own business, and I told you a little bit about the systems that I needed to put in place in order to make that happen. But I've also seen this happen in my students' business. So Starship Captains, we meet every week and we do a live chat. So I get to see their business growing in real time. And without fail, people who will say, my goal this quarter is become consistent with a newsletter. I'm going to send it at this time and this time. Then they report back. Were they able to do that? Were they not able to do that? Well, I realized what's slowing me down in doing that is I need to fix this. They fix it, they get consistent with it, and without fail, they report back in at least a month that their newsletter signups have increased and that their conversion, the people who click inside their newsletter and buy products, has increased. Now, when I say that their subscribers have increased, I don't mean that just become consistent and you'll go from 10 subscribers to 10,000 subscribers. But instead, as opposed to seeing one new subscriber a week, they start seeing one new subscriber a day or 5 new subscribers a week. So it grows because by sending it out regularly, A, they can share it on social media. Hey, my newsletter that includes this and this is going out. Sign up here. That gives them actually something to say about it. If you're not sending it out, you don't have anything to say about it. Also, it spreads around. People forward it to their friends. They share it with their friends. I just today tweeted out one of my most favorite newsletters. So she probably got some new subscribers because I shared her newsletter with more people. So by sending it, you actually give people the opportunity to share it and invite more people in. Now, I'm using the example of the newsletter, of the emails you send to your subscribers, because that is far and away the most effective tool that I've found in my own business and in my students' businesses, is sending regular emails to people who have signed up. So I'm going to mention that a lot because I think that that's the most consistent key to be the most important tool to be consistent with. But without fail, everyone who I've ever worked with who has become consistent in sending their emails sees an increase in sales. As long as they have stuff in the shop, they're sending relevant content that people care about, they get more consistent sales. And if that's not reason enough to become consistent, then I don't know what would be. Like, that is, I'm telling you, the key to making things work better in your business. But I want to acknowledge that consistency is key. But it's not always easy. So one of the reasons why I started the Month of Biz Challenge was because I knew this is something that comes up a lot. There was a request for it. People were saying to me, I just it's hard to work on my business. I'm kind of sick of it, or it's not fun anymore, or it's, I don't know what to do and I just feel overwhelmed and I feel defeated and I feel frustrated. So I knew that it was something that my customers and readers and listeners would enjoy. But also, from my own view, I could have just put together a workbook and done a podcast episode, but I knew that I had the Liftoff and Starship launch coming up, and those have closed. By the time you listen to this, they've already closed. But I knew I had them coming up, and I knew what happens for me when I launch a new product and I create lots of marketing around that product. What tends to happen is I do all of the work ahead of time to get it ready to come out. And then I'm just tired and burnt out. And I actually have done 2 podcast episodes on marketing burnout. I made the second one totally forgetting I had already made the first one, because that's how often it happens for me, that I have created all of this content, usually in e-series and workbooks and extra podcast episodes and periscopes and YouTube videos, and then I'm just really tired and I back away. So that's definitely part of the process for me. But what I find is often I get tired of talking about something before I've actually shared it, because I've done the work ahead of time. I've written the emails ahead of time. I've planned out social media posts ahead of time. So when the thing is actually open, I'm like, oh man, I'm all tired of talking about it. And what often happens is if I take a break for something, like in early May, I went to the beach with my family. And if I take a break from something, I tend to not come back to it as consistently and regularly as I was doing it before. And I had been periscoping really regularly and only sometimes adding them to YouTube. But I wanted to become more consistent in doing that. And I realized that a 30-day challenge, which I'd actually come up with the idea for way back in February, but I recognized that if I did this 30-day challenge during this, it was like May 25th through June 24th of 2016, it would serve a couple purposes. First, it would directly address the thing that my readers and listeners were telling me that they were struggling with. But internally, it would help me become consistent in ways I wanted to become more consistent, namely Periscope and saving and editing Periscope videos and putting them on YouTube. And it would help me through the big launch of a program and stay consistent throughout the launch. So the programs opened on June 15th and they closed on June 24th. And in the past, by June 16th, I'll be all done. Like, I won't do as many Periscopes, I won't post as often as Instagram because I've just done all this work talking and thinking about it. By making the 30-day challenge go through till the end of June 24th, I made sure that I had to show up consistently every day and to keep teaching new, good, valuable lessons and saying, if you're interested in more, you can sign up for Liftoff. Now again, if you're listening to this when it comes out live, Liftoff's already closed. And what I wanted to do in this episode is give you a bit of the behind the scenes of why I would do something like a 30-day challenge and the things I struggle with when I'm marketing or launching something. This episode is actually inspired by a conversation I was having with Sasha, one of my clients. She said something about she was enjoying the month of Biz Love and it must be really hard to do the daily videos. And I said, but that's why I'm doing it, is because I have in my head that it would be really hard to do daily videos, even on the weekends, even when I go out of town to the beach, even when other things are coming up, even when I have a podcast recording that day. I have in my head that it would be really hard, and I know I have this tendency to, once I've launched something, to just kind of back away instead of showing up fully and being present for people throughout the time that the thing is open. And so I wanted to challenge myself to do this. I told her that, and she said, you should talk about that on your podcast. She's like, because I think it's very easy to believe when we see somebody's launch that's already like complete and put together and pre-written that it's all very easy for them and it's no problem for them to share their thing. And even though I've talked about marketing burnout in the past, she said that she's like, I think people need to hear that everyone has trouble with consistency, and yet there are like frameworks and challenges you can set for yourself that keep you going. So that's why I wanted to share this. It's a little bit behind the scenes on how a launch works, how I think of coming up with a new product, even a new free product, like the month-long Month of Biz challenge. But also I wanted to be honest that sometimes it's hard, that sometimes I struggle to be consistent in my own business. And especially when I'm learning a new tool like Periscope and YouTube, I can be really spotty with it. And yet, the way I overcome this is often to set a challenge or a goal. Like, I'm going to do it every day for so many days, or I'm going to do it every week for 3 months, or I'm going to send out, 50 emails in a row, one a week for 52 weeks, so for a whole year. So that's what I wanted to share with you, is I think that if you are struggling to be consistent, you could check out a challenge. And I wanted to give you a couple ideas and ways other people have done this. So if you are really struggling to become consistent and one of the tools will work for your business, you can check out some of these challenges. So the first one is, if you are struggling to work on your business, as opposed to just in your business, and let me make the distinction about that. Working in your business is being like an employee of your business. It's like shipping orders, making orders, taking photographs, listing things. It's the stuff you have to do to keep your business running. Working on your business is thinking about those bigger, like the systems we talked about for creating consistency. It's working on your numbers. It's looking at it as if you are, because you are, the owner and the boss. It's thinking strategically about your business. If you struggle to do that, the Month of Biz Love Challenge actually is built to help you work on your business, a bigger picture on your business, every day for 30 days. Even though I'm done creating the new daily videos, it's all available now. If you go to taraswiger.com/monthofbizlove, you'll get the workbook, you'll get the link to the video playlist where all the videos are there, and you will get instructions for still participating on Instagram. People are still at all different points in Month of Bizlove, so it's still ongoing. No matter when you listen to this, it will still be ongoing. So you can join that at any time, and that will help you become consistent with thinking about your business every single day, if you work on it every single day. Of course, you can go at it on your own pace. But you could create your own 30-day challenge based on whatever tool you want to become consistent with. So whether it's that you want to check your numbers every day and look at your sales or your expenses, whether it's that you want to become more consistent with a marketing tool like Instagram or Pinterest or a blog or a podcast or Periscope or YouTube, you would create a 30-day challenge around that. Here's the thing. You don't have to make your 30-day challenge public, but you can. And when you make it public, you have the choice of telling people, I'm challenging myself to do this for 30 days in a row. Or you can create a challenge for your whole community to participate in. So that's what the Month of Bizlove challenge was. That's what the Biz Confidence challenge was. It was something that it was a challenge for me to create the content, but then it was a challenge for everyone to participate in it. So if you can create something that your community can participate in, it will not only build that community's connection to you, but also to their connection to each other. And it will give you a group of people who is ready and willing to hear about the next thing that you offer. So you might think about it like that. Like maybe the challenge you create, it could be just for yourself. Like I'm going to blog every day for 30 days, or it could be for your community. Like let's all get better at photography and Instagram by taking a photo every day for 30 days, and I'll give you a photo prompt every day. And then you would be challenging yourself to not only take a photo every day, but write up a prompt in your community to take a photo and use Instagram more. But there are so many challenges like that. You can make blogging challenges, Pinterest challenges, Instagram challenges, whatever you think would most serve your people. And now when you think about your people, I want you to focus on the people who are going to buy your product. So if you sell, let's say you're in the knitting industry or crochet industry and you sell handmade yarn or you sell knitting patterns, your challenge could be about building techniques, and you each work on a different, or you all work on a different technique every day for a week or every day for 30 days. Or it could be about color and design and shape, or about wearing your shawls a different way every day for 30 days. When you think about creating a challenge, you need to think about who are your people, who are your best buyers that you most want to connect with, and what are their issues and struggles? What are the things they want to do in their own life? What are the things they would like to explore or do more of? Alternatively, you can just create a challenge for yourself and then you just do it. Now there's 30-day challenges. There's also the 100-day project. And if you look at hashtag 100-day project, there are people who are committing to do things for 100 days in a row. I think it started in early summer and it kind of goes throughout the summer, but you could start your own whenever you wanted. You can decide to do 100 days of anything. So just recently I fell in love with English paper piecing and I got super obsessed and I bought new patterns and I bought a little new fabric. But I told myself before I buy any new fabric, when I was first becoming obsessed and working on a project that me and my mom are collaborating on, I told myself that I would only buy new fabric if I committed to working on this for 100 days. So now there is a hashtag on Instagram, 100 days of Tara's EPP for English paper piecing. And I'm not posting a picture every day for 100 days, but I'm doing something related to English paper piecing every day for 100 days as a commitment to myself to work on a skill and a hobby I want to get better at and I want to commit myself to more. So this idea of a challenge could be in your business. It could also be something you just want to do more of. So something like if you want to get better at taking product photos, take product photos every day for 100 days or for 30 days. If you want to get better at writing descriptions, write up a description, fake or real, every day for 30 days. If you want to get better about talking about your thing, then write a description of your thing every day, or say to someone what it is you do every day for 30 days or 100 days. There's also another thing I want to point out that's like an ongoing challenge is the hashtag year of making on Instagram. I'm spacing on who started it, but Kim Worker introduced it to me because she did a year of making and then wrote up a little ebook about it along with workbooks that can help you out with all that. And she's at kimwerker.com, WERKER.com. I'll link to it in the show notes. But so she has a year of making workbook, and she every day for 1 year made something. And that was a challenge for herself to get back in the habit of making, because as a maker who has a business, it's very easy to actually not enjoy the making time that you have. But by doing some making and taking a picture of it every day, she fell more in love with it. And she writes about it way more eloquently than I can explain it. But that's another way of approaching something. Maybe you want to spend a year working on like a bigger project. And fine artists do this all the time. They set themselves challenges. Maybe it's a daily painting for a year. Maybe it's working on sculpture every day for 30 minutes. It's something you see a lot with artists, but a lot of makers and crafters struggle to become consistent. And I think that using those tools and challenges that we might use in our creative lives and applying them to their business lives will make it easier for you to become consistent and to start the habit. Because that's what consistency all comes back to, is a habit. It's a thing you don't have to think about doing. It has a trigger and it has a reward, and you just do it again and again because you build the habit of doing it. You don't have to use your willpower to force you to do it. I don't have to use a lot of willpower to sit down and write my podcast every week. I don't have to use a lot of willpower to sit down and record it because it just happens every week on the same day at the same time. It just happens. And the more you can make your marketing efforts, your listing things in your shop, even your production calendar, the more you can make it a habit, the less startup energy it will take every day to get started working on the things you want to work on. So if you're struggling because you're not spending your time the way you want to be spending your time, it might be that you need to create a habit of consistency. Now, don't worry about creating consistency on 50 different things. Just pick one and then decide what kind of these challenges and what kind of consistency do you want to create in your business. I gave you a couple examples because I wanted you to not get narrowed into just doing a 30-day challenge. It could be 100 days. It could be 5 minutes a day for a year. Be as broad or as narrow as you think will help you get in the habit of the things you want to get in the habit of. So keep in mind, you could do this for yourself. You can also share it with a community. You can join one that already exists. A quick Google search will tell you if something like what you want to do already exists, and then you can join in a community and get support and encouragement and accountability, or maybe you want to create the community of people who are doing this. I will warn you, if you want to create something for your community, focus in, again, on your buyers and what their issues are. It's absolutely fine if you are a knitwear designer to participate in the knitwear design community of other designers, but those aren't your best buyers. So challenge yourself to come up with something for your buyers. Whether you're an artist and you do like Amy Crook of Amy's Not Dead Yet does a word art, and in I think it's October she challenges herself to do a piece of art every day. But there's also, NaNoWriMo, where people write, it's National Novel Writing Month, and they attempt to write a novel within a month. There are all different kinds of challenges you can do to keep your consistency or to build the habit of consistency in you. So I've created a little workbook that will help you figure out what you want to become consistent with and then how you could build a habit around it. If this appeals to you, you can find it. You can just sign up for it at taraswiger.com/podcast113. So that's 113. You will find links to everything I mentioned, including Kim Worker's Year of Making workbook, the 100-Day Project, the Month of Biz Love. And if you scroll down to the bottom and put your email address in there, we will send you a workbook made just for you guys about creating your own consistency challenge and habit. So taraswiger.com/podcast113. Thanks so much for watching. You can get weekly lessons like this in your inbox, along with access to worksheets and checklists and transcripts from all the podcast episodes when you sign up below. You can also subscribe on YouTube, and YouTube will notify you when there's a new video. And you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram. If you do, be sure to say hello or leave a comment below the video to let me know you're there. Thank you so much for watching, and have a very enthusiastic day.